in just a few seconds. And to everyone joining us today, thank you so much for making the time to join our weekly Fireside Chat. We have a very special guest, fellow Grateful Giraffe, Michael Broukhim, today, who'll be sharing a lot of knowledge and insights on healing family relationship trauma, or healing family trauma and relationship trauma. And so, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Michael to the show.
Nice to meet everybody.
We're going to jump right in with your personal backgrounds. Maybe you can start by just sharing a little bit, of your story and how it, led you to this work.
Um, yeah, I really was inspired to become a physician when my father passed away when I was 19. He passed away from cancer, and one of my first shifts as a volunteer in a hospital was on the oncology floor, where actually my dad would actually come to the hospital often for treatment. And during medical school, I had my psychiatry rotation and really noticed this early pattern of a lot of people having psychiatric symptoms soon after a very traumatic event. And so since then, I've really had this sense that a lot of people's mental health issues in the US, if not globally, comes from unresolved trauma, whether it's shame, grief, fear, anger. And what I've noticed over time, and this is why I try to focus on this in my psychiatry practice, is that it's disconnection from family or even unresolved trauma within the family or within someone's community. That without that, someone has a much harder time moving through their own individual trauma. This is why I'm really passionate about the subject. And even though a lot of psychiatrists are not trained to do therapy in the first place or even family therapy, during my fourth year of residency training, I worked with 10 couples doing couples therapy. And in my own practice, I frequently invite people's friends, romantic partners, family members to participate at times in our therapy sessions or just regular lifestyle, medication management, or supplement management appointments. And again, I spend 1 hour, maybe a month or per week with someone, while family members, friends are spending 5 to 10 to 20 hours. And so I want to get the family involved because I want them to be an ally towards someone's individual growth and healing process.
Amazing. So, what's kind of like the process that generally you follow to guide people through this healing journey? How would you start with a client, and how would you, look at the journey to get them from point A to point B or Z?
So, this is a very broad topic because when it comes to healing romantic relationships, family relationships, friendships, there's gonna be different approaches. I think the most common relationship I'm gonna focus on is family. And I try to give them the context of where we are as a society. 25% of people in the United States don't talk to their parents. 20% of people either have one or zero people that they can rely on, that they can depend on. And 1 in 6 people are on psychiatric medications. And so we're in a society where we are socially under resourced. So I try to give that context. And because we're socially under resourced, we are going to rely on our parents, siblings, friends, lovers a lot more than what we did 100 years ago. Also try to provide a sense of gratitude for what our parents had to work with in terms of their own childhood and as a parent now. Over 100 years ago, we grew up in communities where we might have had our aunts, uncles, grandparents, even cousins help raise us. I come from Iran. Um, my mom left by horseback in the middle of the night at age 17 into Turkey and had to leave a very well structured family system where within a few miles, 100 people were living next to each other. Now moving to LA, we're much more separated. So in the 50s, in the 1950s, the nuclear family model developed where there were two parents, maybe 2 to 4 kids in a suburban area where there was pretty much no family within the area. Your grandparents might be an hour away, aunts and uncles might be in other cities in the East Coast. And so parents didn't have the type of support that they had to raise their kids. Okay, this is for more so baby boomer generation. Add in TV, where suddenly parents are now, as a family, they're all watching TV together, not having, direct conversations. Add in greater access to alcohol, drugs, prescription drugs. Add into the fact that a lot of our wages don't match inflation. And so we had more parents both having to work part time and then full time. And so what I see in my clinic as the most common form of unresolved trauma relates to emotional neglect, where parents were so busy trying to provide housing, food, and shelter for their kids. The thing that they're missing out on is a parent being curious for them. And so for a lot of our parents, they're kind of this first generation that had a completely different childhood than what we've been used to for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. And so I try to help patients have a sense of gratitude that a lot of our parents were trying to do trying to do the best that they could. So that's kind of the framework that I try to provide for people to try to understand, how did this happen to them? Why has there been so much dysfunction in their relationship with their parents? So I'd like to provide that context.
So once they have that context, how do you move forward? How do you help people resolve, and how much of it is within the individual versus how much of it requires, sort of conversation and dialogue between the child and the parents?
So again, I'm going to provide a lot of education because there's some things we need to understand about our own brain first, and also understanding about how the brain might work for their parents, okay, or other people that they're trying to engage in. So I'm going to draw how our brain processes threats. Okay, a lot of you might know this, but I think it's really important to know this in terms of where you're at, in terms of your own individual treatment, and whether or not you're ready to engage your parents, lover or friend. Okay, so I'm going to draw some figures. Okay.
Perfect. Michael the artist coming alive.
So this is the top of the brain. This is the primary cortex. Okay, so this is the part of the brain that's involved with planning, organizing, reading, writing, or speaking. This is the slowest part of the brain, and this is the part of the brain that helps differentiate humans from mammals. Okay. Underneath the primary cortex is the limbic system. This is faster than the primary cortex, It's the emotional processing center of the brain. An example of the limbic system being faster than the primary cortex is, let's say someone gets really angry, they'll punch a hole in the wall, they'll break some dishes, and then when they calm down, the primary cortex comes back online, and that person might say, "Oh my God, I can't believe I did that." Okay, I think a lot of people probably may have seen this in person, okay, or can relate to it. Underneath the brainstem, underneath the limbic system, is the brainstem. This is the fastest part of the brain. This gets activated when you feel like you're in danger. So let's say a tiger comes into your room, Max, right now. Okay.
Ah,
Okay. Or a really mean giraffe. Okay. You're gonna have four responses. Fight, you're gonna fight the tiger. Flight, you're gonna run away from the tiger. Freeze, you're so scared you can't talk, move, or think. And just the disclaimer, freeze is my number one trauma response. And so if I'm thinking for a while, it means I'm freezing. And then the last one is fawn. Okay. What I mean by fawn is you want to please the tiger, you want to pet it to like calm it down. Okay. So fawning, example that it, again, this is people pleasing. Let's say you have a boss who you are worried is going to fire you any day. You are going to get your boss coffee. You're going to take on projects that you can't take on. You're going to overextend yourself to please your boss. Okay. And I think we might do this often in our own relationships, right? If we feel like we have a parent who thinks we are ungrateful, we're going to consistently try to please our mother or father to make us feel like we're a good kid. Okay. So, and just one more thing I'm going to add to this is coming off of the brainstem is the vagus nerve. This is a nerve that comes through the throat, heart, lungs, and gut. Okay. So the way this looks like physiologically, if you're experiencing, some form of threat, your throat's going to close, your heart's going to race, you're going to be short of breath, and your gut is either going to have some pain, low appetite, or you're going to have diarrhea or constipation. So very often people are going to have IBS symptoms. So you need to assess where you are in terms of this conceptual framework. If you notice, right, let's say someone tells me, okay, I'm going to confront my mother about her being a helicopter mom. Okay, we might start doing some role playing in a session. If they start noticing their throat closing up, their heart's racing, they're freezing, they're likely not ready to engage in that conversation. Okay. And so I might recommend someone to do somatic therapy, right? What somatic experiencing or somatic therapy is you're learning techniques, whether it's breath, certain movements, to help regulate your brainstem so you don't go into any of these responses. Okay. Because again, if your brainstem is activated, you're going to have a hard time emotionally connecting to the person and you really can't think, you can't engage your logic. Okay. So again, I try to provide resources to people, whether it's therapy, referring people for, yoga, breath work to help regulate themselves.
cool. So basically, you kind of diagnose where they're at in this schema, and then you can recommend treatments, and then physiologically, what's happening to help restore that balance, to allow them to not have the same level of trigger or response.
Yeah. And I try to contextualize, because this is another thing that happens. whether it's a couple or parent child relationship, is, yeah, I'm disappointed that my parent or my partner keeps on avoiding the conversation. I try to initiate it, but they keep on avoiding me. I try to explain to them it's very likely that they're having a flight response and you're having the fight response. You want to pursue the conversation, but your parents' way of responding to difficult situations emotionally is that they want to avoid. And so I try to provide context of noticing what their own responses and that their own trauma response actually might be activating their parents' trauma response. So it's good to know who is the pursuer and withdrawer in this dynamic.
I mean, given how society has changed and how we're, fractured and separated, and it doesn't seem like the problem's getting any better in terms of like the demands on the modern parents and, kind of the nuclear family, at least in the West. Like, do you see a path towards, returning to our, biological, the biological system and how it is meant to be, or is everyone just going to need to do this work from now on because, we've just kind of reached this next phase of our society?
Um, this is why I'm very grateful for Grateful Drafts. It's really, I view in-person community as the way to address this. Um, the number one protective factor for preventing unresolved trauma from becoming a mental health disorder is community support. Okay, now what I mean by community support is you are spending time with people in person that reflect your authentic value back to you. What community support is not is if you're spending time with someone where you feel like you have to pretend to be someone else in order for them to like you. When we are around more people who reflect our value back to us, our brainstem will calm down and we're able to more engage and more emotionally engage society as a whole. So what we're doing here as a community, right? What I did, coming to a Grateful Draft event on Sunday was I was healing my nervous system and I actualized my value by having a lot of people smile back at me and give me the sense inherently that I'm going to be okay. I have people who will look out for me. So as long as we create these communities, these in-person communities, it's a pathway towards healing on a broader scale.
All right.
So, so, so this is a
Good
really
marketing. I'm going to write down
what
some notes and
what,
put that on our website.
but it's a really big. This is a very big responsibility, right? It really takes a lot of people to coordinate this.
Yeah. How long have you been practicing?
I've been practicing as an outpatient psychiatrist for 3 years, and then I had residency for 4 years.
And what are some things that have surprised you in this journey? What are some things that you didn't see coming?
Um, how many people? How many people's main source of trauma is emotional neglect? Just in the simplicity of my parents or people in my household were not curious about my life. People did not check in on me. Just that experience day after day for years or a decade has a profound impact on someone's nervous system. So that's one of them.
Mhm.
And the next thing is also kind of a challenge as well. That I've heard a lot of patients share with me that their therapist never really included a significant other in therapy. They've never invited family or someone's lover into a therapy session. So because I think, and this is like a one way I feel like we can move towards better mental health outcomes, is that we really need allies in someone's social system to help someone move through their healing, right? If you're meeting with a therapist for 1 hour every week, you have 100 waking hours where your mind might be undoing all the work that you did in 1 hour,
Mhm.
right? If you have a really poor relationship with yourself where you're criticizing yourself, shaming yourself, saying I'm not worthy, everything I'm doing is wrong, my my nervous system is permanently ruined. We need allies in that system to really reflect back their value and help them keep accountable that they're doing the individual work. Because if that's not there, people are likely to be stagnant in their mental health healing process.
Do you feel like there's a way to recover from that emotional neglect with your relationship with yourself, or does it have to come from the social connections and the other people in your life, or do you need both?
Um, so again, it really depends on where you are. I've noticed the patients who are typically stuck, like they're not really moving through letting go of shame, anger, or fear, are the people who don't really have that many, the people that really have no close friends or family. Those are the people that are the most commonly stuck. And so either me or the therapist that they're working with is trying to creatively find ways to find community. There might be people, for example, in the Grateful Giraffes community, who moved here across the country, don't really have any friends or family around. They may be disconnected from their family and friends, and they might be relying on people in the Grateful Giraffes being their primary source of community. So it's really helping people be creative in finding that that community that reflects back their value. And and let's say someone has a lot of social anxiety, they don't know how to really engage people in person. I will have them do improv. It's a really great it's a really great tool. It's a really great opportunity to really let go of any fear of in-person engagement.
Yes,
How do you?
and
Yeah, I,
uh,
I for me, I have a lot of social anxiety, and I don't like public speaking. And I took 6 courses of improv during residency, and that really helped me.
wow, yeah, I've actually been. I mean, Shervin said he wants us to do improv as a community, and I used to do improv like games and stuff, and I've always found it to be such a different way to express, your creativity. So we need to bring that in this quarter. I'm marking it off. It's also funny because my mom, who's on the call, would always ask me a ton of questions, like after school, and I would always just stop asking me questions. Like I don't want to deal with, this inquisition, but in a way that's curiosity. And, that probably led to some healthy patterns, just having my mom always wanting to know everything about my day, every single detail. So thank you, Mom. Um, can you talk a little bit about gratitude in particular? And I'm not picking on you, I'm complimenting you. Can you talk a little bit about gratitude in the context of healing and kind of how you've integrated that into your practice?
Yeah. So yeah, I have a lot of, as I mentioned earlier, I have a lot of patients who have a lot of anger or resentment. towards their parents in terms of whether it's, again, not spending enough time, or spending spending too much time asking questions. I can tell you, you know, similarly, Max, like the person I usually let out my anger with the most is my mom, right? I don't really yell at anyone in my life. Really, I don't yell at all to anybody, but it would be with my mom. Why? Because sometimes she asks me too many questions, right? I'm just not used to it. No one else is doing that. And so um, I really, if there's anyone I'm trying to practice gratitude with, it's with my mom.
Yeah.
My mom, I go back to, oh, my mom, you know, when my dad passed away, she lost her brother 3 weeks later at age 38, lost both of her parents within two years of that. And she had to raise me and my sister. And, you know, I, if we have gratitude for everything that, not just gratitude, but if we have an understanding of why or what led to our parents behaving a certain way, which can be their own unresolved trauma, again, looking at how under resourced that they might be, knowing their strengths and weaknesses, we're going to have gratitude towards what they've at least done for us. And from gratitude comes compassion, right? So, any work with a lover, a friend, or even a parent, it's really only going to work if we have some level of compassion of what they have to offer for us, or at least the suffering that they've experienced. And so I think without cultivating gratitude towards the other person, there is going to be some major emotional obstacles towards really hearing what the other person has to say, or really allowing them to provide context as to why they may have made the shortcomings or mistakes that they've made in terms of what they've contributed to the relationship.
And practically speaking, do you, start a session by asking both parties to express appreciation, or how do you get them to practically, cultivate it?
Yeah. So, I think this is very common in couples work. I'll start with what made you guys attracted to each other, right? How did you guys come together in the first place? What's your guys' origin story? What's your story of love and connection? And so it's great to start off with what's your guys' foundation? What are your shared values, right? Again, you'll hear politicians say this, but we have more in common than we do not. We have more that connects us than disconnects us. So I do like to really focus in on what brings us together. What's our shared vision, right? I'll give you an example of situations where healing between two people might not happen, right? My, I guess this is going to be out in the open.
Yeah.
My grandmother passed away 2 months ago. I did not go to her funeral.
Mm.
The part of the reason why is I just had the sense that my grandmother, part of her vision is that she didn't really wish the best for me, right? So it's going to be hard to heal a relationship if you feel like the other person does not wish success for you, right? Does not have the best intention. So someone's intentions for engaging in repair is very important, right? If you have the sense that the other person does not have their best interests for you, and they're not really worth it, or you probably won't feel safe wanting to repair that relationship. So I think being clear on intentions for why you want to repair a relationship is very important.
Right. So there might be some situations where, the child wants to heal, the relationship with the parent, but the parent, has, for whatever reason, like lost the interest in supporting that child's future. And in cases like that, is the best thing to just kind of disconnect fully and resource from a different, system? Or how do you deal with those situations?
I'll give you a more common example I see that might relate to this is, let's say you come from a family system where your parents are now divorced. Let's say parents are divorced and your father marries someone new, has kids with that new partner. There have been dynamics that I've seen where that father will not prioritize their kids from that first marriage because they really really want to prioritize their new second family. Unfortunately, like that's what it feels like for the patient. And so we, at that point we work on acceptance of your father is just not at a place to reciprocate the type of familial relationship that you want. And again, this is another tool, but if someone in therapy has a really hard time accepting that, and it's very clear that the father is not going to really change, there's no intention, there's no motivation, at that point, we might do psychedelic work,
Let's get
right?
let's get into that.
Yeah. So
Uh,
again, go ahead, Max.
no, I was just gonna say let's get into that and help us understand the role that psychedelics can play and the differences between these different compounds.
Yeah. So psychedelics in general, really, the reason why they're really helpful is that they rapidly accelerate new neuronal connections being made. And so when you combine that with psychotherapy, you can really move it towards that part of your brain where you want to focus on self acceptance, self compassion, and self empowerment. What I want to be really careful about is that in that situation just described, I wouldn't want someone to do psychedelic assisted psychotherapy to accept being disrespected by someone else, right? This is more so acceptance of this is the nature of your relationship, okay? So it actually might help someone be less reactive, right, after doing psychedelic assisted psychotherapy work, where they actually can be in a state where they can more effectively communicate to that parent, I'm accepting where our relationship is at, and at least providing a sense of resolution of I'm accepting for what the relationship can be for what it is, and also stating if you ever want to communicate with me again, this is what I expect. So at least it gives you not only a sense of acceptance, but also it might help you have a greater sense of what it may look like if there's ever going to be repair in the future.
Very interesting. Let's move to the audio. Yeah, if you want to share one more thoughts, but I would love to move to the audience questions. Um,
Yeah, yeah, that's good.
Minling asks, what are some general tools slash resources you recommend for regulating the nervous system?
So, um, variety of ways. Again, breath work, somatic work, exercise, yoga. Again, this is any type of work where you are on a daily basis engaging your body, right? And that can be through that variety of ways. Tai Chi is another one. Okay. So I think a reason why a lot of people are stuck in treatment is that a lot of therapy has not engaged the brainstem, right? So if we can involve more somatic work, more body-based work, I think people can really move through completing their emotions a lot more quickly. Um, I'll give you an example. Exercise. There's a lot of research that shows that exercise is as effective, if not more effective, than medications or psychotherapy for depression, anxiety. So whatever brings you in your body, right, helps you really release any unresolved, you know, stored trauma is what I would typically recommend. And again, there's guided forms of therapy that you can do, like somatic experiencing.
Shelley asks, in your practice, do you also offer, besides one-on-one therapy, additional group therapy?
We have someone that does family or couples therapy in our clinic. Group therapy, that's an unfortunate thing. I think ever since COVID, there's a lot less in-person group therapy work, through group therapy options. But again, I even have a hard time referring people for in-person work. But in our clinic specifically, we don't have um, group therapy where it's people that have no relation to each other.
What advice would you give for pursuer types toward avoidant parents? Mahilani asks. Is that question clear? Pursuer types toward avoidant parents?
Um, you know, one is at least, again, if you're not involved in therapy, let's say family therapy is not an option, okay? Because I would say before that, if you notice repeated instances of failed experiences of reconciliation with a parent, at that point, I would you should consider hiring a family therapist. Let's say that's not in the cards. It's at least being able to state, or at least, okay, let me say another way, is being curious about their parents' experience. Just asking them, how are you feeling about the way we're relating to each other? If the parents are at least open to having the conversation of answering questions, right? Just by being curious about someone else's experience, they typically will soften over time and feel emotionally safer to engage the other person. So start with curiosity. That can go in a lot of directions.
Have you thought about getting a blueprint ready for school districts and elementary schools to start this programming?
Um, I would say not necessarily school districts, but the founder of my clinic, Dr. Omi Naeem, he has a nonprofit called Lameda Institute, and he's actually trying to spread a lot of these concepts I described today to the foster care system and the YMCA, and we're trying to spread it to schools as well. So we're actually trying to do this.
Cool.
Lameda Institute is the organization.
Jackie asked that your point on intentions is very helpful or insightful, but what is a helpful method to communicate concerns about intentions when addressing traumatic intense dynamics?
So if I'm trying to understand the question correctly, is how do
What
we address?
method? Is there a method to communicate to the other person, hey, like if you don't really want me to have a better life, then how can we resolve these dynamics between us? Like, is there a strategy one could take to kind of, and Jackie, tell me if I'm getting this right, but is there a strategy one could take to kind of see if the bridge could be built?
Yeah, again, it's being curious. I'm wondering how you got to a place where this is how you feel towards me.
Hmm.
And again, you can really only have this conversation. You can actually only be curious if you're not having a super strong reaction to them, where you're actually not available to even hear them. So
Hmm.
again, I would highly recommend doing your own individual work. We're going to be regulated enough to hear what they have to say and actually be curious, because you don't want to be at risk of you being curious for them and then you having a fight response like, wow, you're such a dick, fuck you, it's over. So it's really coming from a place of non-reactive curiosity, where you actually might get some insight into how they got in this place of not having wanting the best intentions for you.
Hmm. Cool. And how do you, mainly ask, how do you recommend supporting someone when they are in their fight response and when they don't want to do therapy?
Say that question one more time.
How do you recommend supporting someone when their, kind of fight response is their default
Mhm.
and they don't want to do therapy? Like, how can you engage with someone who's aggressive and not interested in, the process
Okay.
of healing?
So again, curiosity is the first place.
Yeah.
Actually, asking for permission, stating, "I see that you're really angry." So again, stating what you're seeing, seeing that you're really angry.
Mhm.
Are you open to me asking a few questions as to how you're feeling right now?
Mhm.
Okay. They
So you
might
kind
say,
of have to become the therapist in a way.
I, I mean, yes. I think you just have to realize where they're at. It's really notice. A lot of this is noticing where is the other person at in their nervous system process, right?
Yeah.
If you see someone in the fight state, they're huffing and puffing, they're breaking stuff, they're very likely not in a place to engage you in a constructive way.
Right.
So you might say, this is something you might do. Can you take a deep breath? Can you stop? Can you first stop? If they're not stopping, if they can't stop, you might want to give them some time to allow them to physically move through their trauma response.
Right. Right. So, mom, when I start getting angry, you can tell me to take a deep breath. How does that sound? And then Amir asks, why is the burden on the child to be curious about the parent and essentially do the work for them, serving as a pseudotherapist to hear them out?
So just just from what I see, this is where we are in society,
Mhm.
where so many people in our generation, Max, are the parentified child. And thankfully, a lot of us are accessing mental health support while the older generation's not. And so I have to say, for most people, this is just unfortunately where we are at, because we're actually engaging in treatment. We're trying to, we're attending this fireside chat. We're actually trying to seek resources. We now, because we're educated and because we're taking responsibility for ourselves, well, we also might be the person responsible for repairing the relationship, unfortunately, right? A lot of our parents, a lot of people in society are stuck at a teenage level of emotional intelligence. And so, if that is the case, if that's the system you're working in, unfortunately, it might take you, it really would be up to you. Okay. And that, at that point, you want to determine, is it worth it? Right? Am I energetically, emotionally, time wise, am I in a place where I actually can take on this major responsibility of being the parent in this relationship? If you want to not have the responsibility, you might tell the parent, I'll only engage in repair if you're going to do your own individual therapy.
Mhm.
And so you can work towards being my parent, because I'm not interested in having a dynamic with you where I'm parenting you.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, beautiful. Um, Now, one of the challenges with mental health is just the availability and the cost of service. A lot of people can't afford it, or don't have access. Um, so I'm curious to hear your take on AI and just kind of the future of therapy and how, technology could be used to scale, some of this conversational talk therapy. Do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah. Um, I'm of the mindset with AI and how exponentially um, quick AI is transforming. If you can't beat them, join them. So I feel like we have to join AI. Like I don't feel we have a choice. Like it's um, and not just in terms of a choice, but I have so many patients. I'm sure everyone has his own personal experience where 4 to 8 hours per day they're on their cell phones, not related to work or talking to other people. And so with how unsustainable it is to pay, there's some people that are paying $200 to $400 every week for therapy. I do think AI is going to be a very crucial tool as a way to help ground ourselves, help us reflect, right? I've seen some really great technology out there where like AI is asking very good reflective questions. It's actually been really good tools for really doing good internal introspection. So I'm very excited for what's going to come out. Again, I guess my fear of really relying on these tools is I think in person experiences of having your value reflected back to you. There's no price to that, and I think from an evolution perspective, we are not made for just being on our screens all day. So yes, there can be great tools, but I think in-person experiences are priceless, and I would say it's your life really depends on it.
Wow. Has there been any books that you've read that have shifted your practice, shifted your perspective?
Tribe by Sebastian Unger. Um, it's a book about how community is extremely uh, valuable. Um, in that book they shared stories of um, people from Europe that settled in the U.S., like the first colony communities, when they had someone in their community that was kidnapped by Native Americans, and those colonizers came to came to rescue that person. That person did not want to leave the Native American community,
Wow.
and the big reason why is because they really saw how grounded, how well intentioned, and how communal those communities are. And so that will really, I guess, fully want to empower you to really seek out, maintain, and create community in your life. So that was a kind of a groundbreaking groundbreaking book for me.
Mhm.
And then another groundbreaking book is 4,000 Weeks: A Time Management Guide for Mortals.
Hmm.
But that changes your relationship with time as well.
Cool. If there's any more questions from the audience, feel free to pop them in the chat as we're nearing the finish line. But in the meantime, what's something you think the Grateful Giraffe community should take with them from today? If you could really summarize the conversation, what should people leave with?
Um, I think people should leave with this sense of your in person engagements with other people might have a much greater impact than what you think it may have on the other person. And so I think we're all here, I think we're all humanists, right? I think we like to be of service to the other person. A lot of us work in service oriented industries. So I think having the sense of I'm going to be as present as I can be with this person that's across from me, especially in the draft community, because me smiling at someone, me being curious about this other person might really help them have the resilience to move through finding some level of resolution or healing in their own individual, like their own self relationship, but also in healing their romantic, familial, or other friendships.
Beautiful. Um, Jackie asks if there's any podcasts or YouTube channels that you recommend, and do you have one yourself?
I don't have a podcast myself. Um, I like Anthony Huberman's podcast. A lot of great
Andrew.
Andrew Huberman. Andrew Huberman.
Unless
He has
there's an Anthony Huberman, we just haven't met yet. His twin
Andrew Huberman.
brother.
He has a lot of podcasts where you have like neuroscientists. Sometimes he'll have mental health experts, um, and um, Lex Friedman podcasts where he'll also have people from a variety of areas of life, asking them really great questions. So
Cool. Well, thank you, everyone. This was really educational for me. I learned a lot. Michael, you're a genius. I'm really glad we got to have you on the show to share, so much of this wisdom. We're going to transition into a brainstorm for our upcoming Giraffes in the House party at Mystic Manor, which Adar will lead. So, for those of you who are interested in just being part of that brainstorm session, feel free to stay on the line. And for those of you who have to continue on with your day, we hope to see you there and for next week's Fireside Chats with Jeff Chen. So thanks again, Michael. It was a true pleasure.
thank you, Max, for having me. Thank you, Draft community, for attending and being open to hearing to what I have to say.
Amazing. Adar, I'm going to put you on the spotlight and I'm going to mute myself and my computer and use both voice room.
What's up, everybody?
Maybe I'll remove the spotlight so
Cool.
still have a few minutes before.
Yeah. We'll wait a few minutes. There might be some people joining just for this session, so they'll be coming on at 10. Hi, Ma. Good to see you. You're on mute.
I guess I'm gonna
Wait,
I'll
hold
say
on.
bye.
Oh, sorry. I kept my volume was off. What'd you say?
I'll say bye because I don't think I'm, not
Okay.
sure I can
Yeah,
contribute.
you're not needed for this unless you want to fly out for our next event.
Right. Yeah, I'd like to.
Hopefully soon. Bye. How's everyone doing on this fine morning?
Hi, Adar. It's Celine.
Hey,
Doing well.
Celine. What's up? What's up? Good to hear your voice.
I know. I'm driving right now to shoot for work. But yeah, I just want to say hi.
Hey,
It's nice to see you.
been so long. Yeah. Did you enjoy the session we just had?
Yeah, I cried actually.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know why. I just felt like I needed to go on this, even though there's like a lot of good things happening with my family, but it doesn't really take away from some of the past things that they've done. And so I really resonated with um, what was said today, a lot of it. But yeah, and then I didn't realize it would transition to a party planning session. So I was like, wait, let me stay on for that. That sounds so much fun.
Right. From trauma
So
healing to parties. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, well, this is a good time to get involved with, again, the community and everything. So I would I probably can't stay on for too long, but I would definitely want to stay as much as I can for this drive.
Yeah, yeah, stick around as long as you can. More importantly is just come to the event on the 21st. You know, that's more important.
Yeah, so it's January 21st at Mystic Manor.
Yep.
What is there a theme for
I,
this one?
it's just one of our giraffes in the house, you know, wellness, health and wellness themed party. I'll get into a
Gotcha.
little bit more about what we should be expecting, but we're gonna have some workshops, some live music, some dancing, and who
That
knows, some
works.
things we haven't planned yet that will come up on this event. I'm sure on this meeting. I'm sure that's the goal.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, it's good to have you here. Max is about to rejoin, and then we'll get started.
well, sounds good. Go back on mute. Sorry if it's like noisy.
No,
The
all
road.
good. It was great catching up.
Yeah, me too.
Sure. We'll give it one more minute just for whoever might be joining just for this session.
That was such a good one.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah. Yeah, that was awesome. Hey, Jordana.
Hi, how are you, Adar?
I'm good. Good morning.
Morning. How was the fireside chat?
It was amazing.
Nice.
Maybe one of our best ones yet, honestly.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really good.
That's saying a lot because they've been good.
Right, right. No, Michael really knows what he's talking about. Yeah, he held the space nicely. It was great.
Is there um is there an archive where you're putting all of these?
Yeah, they'll be uploaded to Circle, the full episode on Circle.
Nice. Yeah,
Cool.
it's really valuable content. I'm like excited that you keep getting such great people and we have so much to share with the community.
Right, right. It's shout out to Max for initiating it and making sure it happens weekly. And Minling who helps you. Cool. Let's get started. Thanks everyone who's joining. The goal of this call is to kind of just brainstorm our next giraffes in the house, which will be January 21st at the Mystic Manor. I'll run us through what we kind of have planned, and then I'd just love to hear thoughts and feedback, see who wants to be involved, whether it's in facilitating some kind of a workshop or just volunteering in some other capacity. So as I mentioned, we took the Mystic Manor for January 21st. It's going to be an event from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m., so a little bit longer than our past events. The day is going to start with just a series of different workshops in the outside section. Everything I'm saying right now is subject to change. We're still, you know, in the planning, but this is the rough idea. From 2 to 2:30 p.m. we have some kind of a movement workshop. 2:30 to 3 p.m. we have some kind of a breath work, maybe meditation. 3 to 3:30 p.m. we're going to do a hugging workshop, which I believe that will be run by Jordana, assisted by Max. 3:30 to 4 maybe we'll have Chris Pan do a VOMA. We still need to finalize with him, and then 4 to 4:30 some other workshop which we haven't decided yet. While this is going on, you know, on the inside there's going to be different vendors, vending, maybe some wellness activations like the Sensate chairs or Sensate devices or shift wave chairs. In the room where normally they put the DJ during all the workshops is going to be kind of like a healing lounge. There's going to be a masseuse there. There's going to be an acupuncturist there. Looks like we're going to have a hypnotist there, maybe some Reiki. That's kind of like the healing center that people could kind of just drop into during the day. At 5 p.m., that room is going to shift from being a healing room to be a room for live performances. So that's kind of like the evening vibe kind of coming in. So from 5 to 6, we're thinking of doing a comedy hour. From 6 to 7, we're going to do different live musical performances. From 7 to 8:30, we're going to have a DJ set, which will be done by Max. And then 8:30 to 9 p.m. sound healing. Some other activations we're trying to set up is a fire spinning and dance performance in the evening outside. We're trying to bring in a sweat tent, a cryo chamber. We'll have a fire pit. And that's, oh, and a cuddle puddle. We of course will also have. So that's kind of where we're at. That's what we have planned. Does anybody have any thoughts, any questions, anything you think we can add as a workshop, as an activation, as a booth? Happy to hear all your thoughts. Cool. So it's more of the listening crowd, which is great.
Yeah, like I was just gonna say that's like you're really thorough. I mean, even like as I was like imagining it, you started saying the things that I thought would be great. So I don't have much to add in this moment.
Great. I mean, look, if we already thought it through to such an extent that there's not much to say, then we did our work. But so Jordana, you're in for the hugs, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Amazing. Um, cool. And Shervin, you're gonna be a volunteer, I'm guessing? One of our most trusted volunteers.
Should I be?
Of course. You definitely should be. Yeah.
Oh, do I
All right,
have to say hi to everyone? Is
I'm
that
writing you down. Volunteers. We have Shervin. If anybody else here wants to volunteer, please let me know. Yeah, also, if anybody knows like vendors that they think might want to be involved, please connect us. Maybe some ideas for workshops that haven't been stated yet, like what would be a good workshop we could do?
I have one idea, and I feel like it might resonate because it's still the beginning of the year. But vision boarding or some type of goal setting or just something like that. I still feel like January, it's like still along the lines of like how we can better prepare ourselves for the rest of the year. Something along those lines, like that's one workshop idea. I feel like you can close out January with it.
Well, I like that. We did something this past Sunday that was really intention setting for January 21st, but I do agree with you. It's not too late. I think there's always more room for intention setting. So I wrote that down.
But the itinerary that you have right now is packed, and honestly, it's a beautiful itinerary as is as well. So
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, we've
that
been
yeah, excited, so excited.
it's gonna be a good one.
Adar, what was the slot that was empty still? 4:30?
Yeah, there's the 4 to 4:30.
4 to 4:30, half an hour. Is there I mean, I know Mystic Manor has this outdoor area, but is there a place people can dance, but not the DJ set dance? Because I know someone who believes in dance and dance therapy. I might be able to talk to her to get something there if
Yeah,
you're
I think
interested.
that could be a very interesting one.
Like Daniel Weinstein and Kate
Bologna, yeah.
they go to this like dance woman that's like really has a unique movement technology. So we could talk to them and see if she'd want to lead something.
Yeah, I mean, I have one person in mind. I mean, I don't know if she's going to say yes, but I just wanted to see what the situation is so I can tell her.
Believe in
But I
yourself.
can reach out.
Believe in yourself.
Okay.
If you don't think she's going to say yes, you're right. If you do think she's going to say yes, you're probably right. So
You might just want
Okay.
to just do a vibe check on the person and like see their stuff before.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you're telling me or you're telling Adar?
Just the group.
Right. No, I know
yeah,
her.
generally when we work with
she's
people, we like to check their vibe first. If we have some recommendations from people who have experienced this modality, then, that should be good enough.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's great because it's right, like something like movement based right before the music starts so that people feel like ready for that transition. Also, I'm sure you know this, but Karen from Mystic Manor does fire spinning.
Right. She's actually going to spin, and she's going to set up she's going to set up she's going to get a few more spinners, so she's going to organize like a full hour of fire spinning. So she's working on that. That'll be in the evening.
And who are you thinking for sound healing?
We're not sure yet.
Community members, Donna.
Oh yeah, Donna, right.
But she's still confirmed. It's going to be a 30-minute set, so you know, I know you prefer not to have the lug,
Yeah.
you know, and so on and so forth. Donna, we had you know, an agreement that she would gift one session to the community, so that's, you know, why we're pursuing that. But you know, if there's other sound healers in your network that would just want to do it as a gift, you know, please let us know. Most of the time, it's not the case.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, most of the time, like that's one of the harder ones to get people to do for free. I really do like that guy who's been at a few of the events who plays he plays the piano and he's got some sort of like, you know what I'm talking about?
so yeah.
Yeah,
We're gonna try to integrate him. Honestly, maybe that could also be an interesting close.
close it with Benza. Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's yeah. I actually like that as a close. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, because he's not just like, I mean, he's really relaxing, but he's also somewhat energetic. So
Right.
he's so hard to get people to leave.
Right. Yeah. Cool. I like that. Yeah. Anything else?
Bryce, do you wanna do anything with the event?
Just kind of wanted to chime in and listen in on, because I haven't. So, and I didn't know this was happening. My birthday's on the 20th. I don't even know my plans yet, if I have anything going on the 21st. And did you send anything out? Like what's the Mystic Manor like, space-wise?
It could definitely fit a four sigmatic activation.
Okay. Would you be able to fit like the moped? Is it too tight?
I don't think so.
Okay.
The gate's a little small, right?
Yeah, I think maybe from the side, honestly, we might be able to drive it in the back. If you could send me the dimensions,
It'd be so cool to have that out front, honestly.
yeah, but then it just creates like yeah, traffic coming in. Like we want people in the doors, you know.
Looked at that for Outer Edge. We were thinking about having Four Sigmatic, but when I talked to Karen, I don't think that we were going to be able to get the trike through, and they were a little bit apprehensive about having it up front because they didn't want
Right.
to.
They don't like doing stuff out front, yeah.
Yeah.
Fair.
Mm,
Yeah, well, I mean, let me see if I have anything going on first and foremost. And if I can make like a booth or something work, I could do that.
yeah, that'd be great.
Possibly. And okay, let me look at my schedule. I'm literally in the bathroom right now, about to get in the shower. So I'm heading into the office, and then I'll just get back to you guys.
Awesome.
And that's my neighbor. I don't know if you can hear her talking to her cat.
Cool. So Bryce, let us know. We'd love to have you. I think a booth is probably the best
Option for sure.
option. Yeah.
Sounds like it. Okay, cool.
Awesome.
And what hours is this happening?
It's 1 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay. And where is this house located, or the manor, or whatever?
It's in Venice. In Venice.
Okay.
It's a beautiful home in Venice. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sweet.
Awesome. Thanks, Bryce.
Thank you, guys.
Wrap it?
Yep. Cool. I think we're good. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up? Cool. Thank you all so much.